Good evening, welcome. It is All for United WFC. We are live again. And I'm sure you were all here not so long ago as Connor was sat here chewing the fat with loads of other opposition fans having a chat around about where United were going to finish this season. Obviously, where Chelsea were going to finish, where City were going to finish, and what we think of all of that. Hopefully, you've watched that and decided what it is that you think. But today, we are concentrating on a game on Friday. Very weird having a game on a Friday evening. Not used to seeing that too often in the WSL. But we will be playing Aston Villa, in case you're not aware. So that's happening on Friday, and we've got two fantastic people on our panel today. It's a bit weird for me to be doing the previews as well. Connor usually does those. I usually sit here in one of these lovely little boxes and just chat rubbish, really. But instead, I've got to be thoughtful and think about questions. And I don't really think I've given Connor enough credit into thinking about what goes into a preview show. So we'll see if I can do him proud tonight. Obviously, we've got Jess just below me there. We've seen Jess many a time. How you doing, Jess? You okay?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, happy to be back on.
Excellent. And to my right as I'm looking, but to my left, if you're looking at my actual shoulder, it's very weird. I never quite know what to say on this. It's Freya. Freya is from the whole 115 yards, as you can see, which is a rather cool website / Twitter place, which talks all about women's football, but they are a little bit of Aston Villa fans. They write for Aston Villa News. So how are you doing, Freya? You okay?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Much appreciated. And hello to everyone. John and Sporty and Chris and Sarah and John and Titus have all just come straight in with your hellos. What a lovely, polite crowd we always have. So, Villa against United. It's a massive one. We've spoken about it a little bit backstage. We were talking about how this time last year we played Aston Villa, similar sort of time, and it was the beginning of the end in some way. So that may well be something that pops up today. But before we do, Freya, I just wanted to ask you from your point of view, how you think Villa are doing this season. I mean, I was looking at the statistics. You're doing way better already than you were last season. You've got 3 more wins, 9 more points already, still games to go. So obviously it's better. But how do you see your season? Successful? Happy?
Very happy, yeah. If you compare it to, like you said, last year, look at my little statistics that I've got. We finished 9th last year. We only had 21 points. We're currently 5th and we're on 30 points already, like you said, with games in hand. So we've progressed so much. We're like a completely different team. And the fact that we've been able to buy in some fantastic players and just create this whole new dynamic, we should be very proud of where we are and look at the future of where we're going to end up. So future is bright.
Absolutely. Listen, we've had all these hellos and it always kind of just choose your own one. It seems weird when we put it up here as if we're saying hello to ourselves, but hopefully actually being polite to everyone else and saying hello to them. And immediately Sarah straight in with massive game. Don't want to repeat it last season. No Kirsty for them. So that's a bonus for us as she's been smashing it. Obviously, we are going to talk about the delight that is Kirsty Hanson. But Jess, we've just spoken to Freya about how she feels about Aston Villa. How are you feeling about Manchester United? Because for me, it's just been an unbelievable season. But I don't know, maybe you feel differently. How do you feel this season has gone for us?
No, I think it's been an incredible season. I think it's very easy to kind of update your expectations as the season progresses. But I think if you'd have written down on a piece of paper at the start of the season what you wanted, it would just be to get Champions League. It wouldn't have been first. It wouldn't have even been second. It probably would have just been to squeeze into third. We are currently sitting number 1 in the WSL, and we've been there all season. So for me, yeah, it's been a fantastic season. I think not only that as well, but just the improvement compared to last season. I think that's the other thing you've got to do. Measure kind of the success of this season against previous years. And yeah, the growth has been crazy and it's so good to see. Really, really good to see. So just got to keep strong now for the final few games and hopefully, finish the year strong.
It would be hopeful, wouldn't it? We'd absolutely want to be doing well. But Freya, again, we've been talking a lot about managers and I'm sure you've seen it. Mark Skinner getting a few pelters from his own fans, which I think is a little bit tricky when you're top of the league. But Carla Ward, how have you felt? How have the Villa fans taken to her? And what's your thoughts there? Because we know we've got a few people within our fan base who are big fans of what Carla's doing. What would you say is the feeling amongst the Villa fans?
Yeah, I mean, she's been absolutely phenomenal for us. I mean, how she's turned the team around, how she's, I remember watching an interview and she was saying, she was still on the phone Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, trying to sign players, trying to get that in. So to have that dedication from a manager and to have someone who really embodies the team, and you see her reactions go around clapping with the team, and she's so invested in what she's building. It's phenomenal, and we're so lucky to have her. So hopefully she stays for a long time.
Absolutely. What exactly is it that you think that Carla has done that's helped you to progress so much over the last year or so?
I just think she's got a really clear plan of where she wants to be. She's always communicated that as well. So as fans, we know what she's thinking. So we know she said, she would ideally like top 6. We're now top 5. And we know we're being classed as kind of the best of the rest, that kind of thing. But she doesn't settle. And I think that's what we're really seeing. She keeps pushing. She wants more, and she wants it from the players as well. So that demand and that motivation to succeed has been clear from day one.
Okay, absolutely. And Jess, in terms of Mark Skinner, I think I remember whereabouts you've fallen in, but these opinions change from people week on week. What do you think about Skinner? Because we're speaking about 2 teams here who have progressed brilliantly, I think, over the last season, especially. What would you say about Mark Skinner at the moment? Would you be singing the praises in the same way that Freya is? Or
yeah, absolutely. I don't really think that if you're being realistic and honest with yourself, I don't see how you can criticise him. Again, I know we've spoken about this in the past. I get that, there might be a little bit of room for kind of not totally being on board with some of his substitutions. I know that's the big one, and like squad rotation. And I know that United have the least amount of changes compared to every other team in the WSL. But if you look at the other teams in the WSL, especially teams such as Arsenal, Chelsea, they've had a lot of injuries. United have been so lucky this season with injuries. I mean, if you actually think about it with kind of Arsenal, Chelsea again as my kind of main examples, as they're competing for top 4, and they've really Arsenal especially been plagued with injuries. Would they have made all the subs and all the changes they've made if they weren't literally forced? And I think that's something you've got to take into consideration. That whilst, yes, I know rotation is important, but some of it does just come down to the fact that we have basically had a fully fit starting 11 for the entire season. And that is insane to think about. And just, it is a bit lucky, but obviously something's going right in terms of training. Maybe binning the Conti Cup off early has actually done wonders for us and allowed us to focus on the FA Cup and the league. But yeah, back to kind of your original question. For me, I'm massively pro Skinner. I don't know how you really can't be. Look at where we are in the league, and that kind of says enough.
I would tend to agree with you. Sarah's asked a question for you here, Freya, which seems like, oh, no, that's not Sarah, that's Joseph, and hello to you. Somebody put it was you, Titus. She put in a little message and it plopped it up. Yes, Freya, this one here. Can Carla take you further is the question, which is quite an interesting one, because you mentioned being the best of the rest, for example. Do you see her being able to take you into that top 4 fight, to make it into more of a top 5 fight? Because there's a little bit of a gap, about 8 points, I think, between you and 4th.
Yeah, I mean, we'd all love her to be able to, and we think she's got the vision to be able to as well. It's just all about getting that. So Villa, we want people to be able to come into Villa and know it's a good team to go to. They're not being kind of sent off to a team that's kind of not going to be able to compete. So I would absolutely love that. And I think she can bring in the players now. We've got that higher profile with Jordan Nobbs, with Rachel Daley, and the bigger names are starting to come into Villa. So yeah, I can't see why not. She's definitely the type that could do it for us.
Fair points. Well, it's probably time we start looking at some of the matches that we've had already this season, and there's been 2 of them. So let's go with the depressing one to begin with, shall we? Not because it's the depressing one, but because it was the first one that we had. And Jess, you brought up the Conti Cup. The Conti Cup's been interesting. You spoke a lot about rotation. We did that a lot in the Conti Cup, and as a result of making so many changes, just didn't quite work for us as well as it could do. He's done it again. Look, see, look, here he is. Look, this was not even 5 minutes ago, a minute ago, and then boom, onto a brand new one. I can't keep up with what he's doing. He's worse than Superman when it comes to changing his identity, that boy. But there we go. Yeah, it was a really poor result that we had against Aston Villa. 1-1. Nikita Paris getting on the score sheet, Rachel Daley, of course, getting on the score sheet. Ella Toon had a brilliant opportunity just before the end of normal time, could have won it for us, didn't. Went to penalties. The rest, as they say, was history, and out we went. I know you mentioned the rotation, probably a bit too much. What was your thoughts of that game, and does that result sort of linger in your head a little bit as we move into this game on Friday?
Yes and no. I know, obviously, the whole Conti Cup, the rotation was heavy, and at the time it felt like a big disappointment to kind of be chucked out of it so early. But to be honest, looking back now, I mean, it's hard to even remember this game. I could not tell you whether I watched it, whether I didn't, because I think when you look at where we are in the league and obviously into the FA Cup final, the whole Conti Cup thing just seems almost irrelevant. So I'm not so concerned about this result. I'm more concerned of history repeating itself based on sort of the last year's, one of the final games was United and Villa, and that's what kind of tripped us up at that point. I'm less concerned about what we did in the Conti Cup, because I think in hindsight, it doesn't look like we really put much kind of stock into getting far in that competition. I don't think anyone really seemed too bothered. And the further we kind of progress in the league and through the year, it kind of becomes even more irrelevant. I guess I might just be saying that because obviously we've already lost it and it's been and gone. Maybe if we'd have done a bit better, I would be actually singing the Conti Cup's praises and saying how much I love the competition. So I'm not overly concerned about that result. I just think that we're at a point in the season now where we need to be getting 3 points. Like, a draw is not good enough now. My biggest concern would actually be some of the players that Villa have brought in recently. They are a very, very good team. And I've really been enjoying watching them play, to be honest. They're probably one of my, outside of the top four, they would be like, I don't know, I just enjoy watching them. They are like one of my favourite teams just to watch. They've got some very, very good players. So that is my concern now, just their starting 11, basically. They are a very good side and should not be underestimated at all.
There we go. You're taking the mickey now. No worries, Barry. Just confusing more. I'll switch to this account, which is the men's account for anyone not watching there. So Connor really taking the mickey there. Really does this. I've been thinking about it, Connor. You're not actually like Superman. That was being too kind to you. I think you're more like the football version of Mick Foley, because you've got your three different things there: Mick Foley, Mankind, and Cactus Jack. So I'm sure there's going to be some wrestling fans that will enjoy that one. Freya, with regards to the result we were just talking about, I don't know if you were there or if you saw the Conti Cup game. When it was 1-1, I was there. It was incredibly frustrating for us as a team to see that sort of result. Is that the kind of result, though, that gives you confidence, I suppose, going into this game, knowing that you were able to get something against us, and that if we're not at it at our very best, that you are definitely in with a shout of doing something and getting something out of this game?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was there at that match, yeah. And I think just the atmosphere of what this team can achieve, and to be able to get a point and to be able to get a win from a team like United was phenomenal, because, like you said, for a while, we were kind of the team who could take points off the top three, top four. So if anything, we were a completely different team back in that game to where we are now. And I think so are United, because we've had a good run of games. We've clicked now as a cohort. All those new players have really found their rhythm, found what they can do, and how to work with each other. So I'm really excited for this game. I think it's going to be really tight. So it's either going to be a moment of brilliance, or it might even be a mistake that makes all the difference, really. So yeah,
absolutely, it's interesting. Titus has put here for you: if Villa keep this up, WSL will push for $1, which I checked on my keyboard is 4. So that's 4 teams qualifying for the Champions League, which is quite possible. And what a thing that would be. Although, to be fair, even if Villa keep this up, don't forget you've still got City and Arsenal and Chelsea and us, and that would be a heck of a top 4 race. Connor's put, yes, Jess, agree. More worried about what happened last season. To be honest, a draw for top 3 isn't end of the world, but the title would be over then. Don't forget, I've got a question for you that I shall ask you about that in a bit. And there we go, Titus then changed it. So there we go. Well done, me. And then TJ, that flew over your head. Well, because you haven't watched wrestling, but this is unreal, Connor. Now you know how I feel most of the time. That's impossible that anything flies over your head with the size of your hair. That's like a mosquito net. It catches everything. I'm not having that, Connor. I'm not having that at all. These things don't fly over your head. So there we go. John's put on here, Jess. Bestcott Stadium is a bit of a bogey ground for us on the last couple of visits. That being said, we were drawing these games last season. We're now winning them. Both teams are much improved now, which they are. If we were to draw, would you be worried that that would then see us slip off in the same way that we sort of did at the end of last season? Or do you feel that the differences you've seen so far this season, the fact that we're turning a lot more games that we did draw in the end into wins, we've only lost 2 games this season, both of them against Chelsea, which isn't a bad thing. Do you now see that as actually, no, we should be stronger, and that even if we were to get a rogue result here, that would still be all right and would still step up in the next few games and potentially secure top 3?
Yeah, I think we've seen a difference in the mentality more than anything this season. And I do think even if there was a bit of an upset with this game on Friday, I still would like to think that with the kind of improved, stronger mentality we have now, that the players would just let it go and move on to the next and then perform like they know they need to in the final games. So yeah, I have faith that even if there was an upset this week, that it wouldn't be the end of like our kind of hopes for top 3 or whatever our dreams are. I do think that, like Connor said in the comments, that would be the top spot gone. I can't see Chelsea slipping up. But, you know, I would like to think that we could still hang in to get top 3 and therefore the Champions League position. That's basically our main aim, I'd say, for the season, really.
That seems very fair to me. Very fair indeed. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Kirsty Hanson, Freya, before we get too deep into this game, because obviously it's one that she's not going to be available for due to that wonderful rule whereby we can loan people out and say, haha, but you can't play against us. I have to say, I've openly admitted this on this channel before, I'll happily admit it again, I didn't want you to win the FA Cup semi-final against Chelsea. And that was purely because I thought it would be awful for Kirsty to have played so well all season and then not be allowed to play in the final. That just felt like a sort of a real slap in the face to have performed so well. But what has Kirsty Hanson meant to the Aston Villa team this season? And is she a big part of the reason why it is that you've done so much better this season to last season?
Yeah, I really like that point you just made there. Yeah, it would be, devastating if she couldn't have played in that final because of how wonderful she's been. She's been absolutely phenomenal for us and such a vital part of that starting 11. I think I was discussing it with Lindsay, who does the whole 115 yards with me, and we were saying, without her, if she doesn't play, and Sarah Malin as well, when those two don't play, you can really feel it. So the fact that she's come to us on loan for the season and she's in that starting 11 and has such an impact is, it is fantastic. So we are really going to miss her on Friday, which is such a shame. But she's again, looking at our stats, she's got 8 assists. She's got 4 goals this season. She's only behind Gura Wrighton of Chelsea. I mean, to have that ranking out of the whole WSL is, again, phenomenal. I know I keep using that word, but it suits us so much. So hoping we can keep a hold of her at the end of the season. Because she is so vital and will be a mess.
Well, Connor has literally nicked what my next question was going to be there, which is, do you think that Kirsty Hanson will stay at Villa next season? Do you foresee that? What are the sort of vibes, I suppose, you're getting from around the club and around the fans? Obviously, you might want her to stay. Would you think that's a possibility?
We're really torn because we'd love her to stay. We really would, but we know just kind of from how she interacts on social media, we've kind of interpreted she misses United. She wants to go back to her parent club. And you'd want to return, kind of not a heroic return, but to be like, look what I've done, out in the world, look what I can do. I've proven myself. And especially if United do get Champions League and wherever they finish, that would be a fantastic place for her to go back to. What we don't want to do is lose her to become maybe a bench warmer, to become an impact sub. So if United are going to rotate their squad. I know we've mentioned a bit about rotation earlier, but has she got a place in that first team? We think she's earned it, but I don't know. What do you think if she does come back? Do you think she's got a place in that starting 11?
Well, this is the question I was then going to throw to you, Jess. Do we see Kirsty coming back next season? And if she did, because I argue, and I've argued for some time now, that actually we don't have a sort of a designated starter in that right wing position. Every other position at the moment, you've said about that starting 11, we can name it. We know roughly who we want as our preferred people in those positions. But that right wing slot could be Garcia, could be Martha Thomas, could be Nikki's Paris. There's lots of people you could just put there. So what do you reckon? Is there a chance that Kirsty could come in, be the starter, and then we use the impact subs of people like Paris and Garcia?
I think realistically, it's the only person that can kind of get that spot is her. Like you mentioned, you just reeled off a list of people there. It's a really like heavily competitive kind of spot. That spot is heavily competed for. You've got, like you just mentioned, 3 players there. And that is the one spot that we do see the most rotation. That being said, if we do get Champions League, which I'd like to think at this point we are going to have more games, which means that Skinner, he is going to have to start rotating a little bit more, especially the kind of forward players, because we're not going to want to end up like Arsenal with the amount of injuries, or like we were last season. So I do think she's absolutely more than capable of competing for that spot and potentially winning that position. It's just that she's got several other players to compete against. But then you don't know. They might be looking to move on. You really don't know. But, I mean, she's been incredible for Villa. But like you said, Freya, what I wouldn't want to see, because I rate her so highly as a player, I wouldn't want to see her coming back to United to sit on the bench when she's just performed the way she has at Villa. Because I rate her and like her so much as a player, I just want to see her play. Whether that's for United or for Villa, I want to see her getting good minutes as well, because she's just done insanely well this season. I was just having a quick look on the FootMob stats. I know they're not the be-all and end-all of everything, but she's actually the highest rated player on average in your whole team. So she's rated 7.8 and Daley's on 7.7 as like the season-long average so far. So that just goes to show how important she is to Villa. And it's actually a bit of a godsend that she's not going to be able to play, to be honest, on Friday, because it does throw a bit of a spanner in the works for you guys, which makes me happy. And I do think we have a better shot. United have a better shot at winning that game without Hanson in the team, definitely.
Thank you.
I'm not laughing at you. Right. We were just talking about right wing and left wing, actually, is what's going on in the comments section at the moment. Let's just point this out. Absolutely, she's played right wing. That was literally her position for Manchester United the season before this. So that was generally where we'd see her. But there is a lot of talk, and Freya, I think this is right, that she's been playing on the left-hand side for Villa so far this season. Is that correct? She's
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, that's another interesting point there then, isn't it, Jess? Would you see her coming back as being on the left wing? Because she's not going to put Galton out of place. Galton has 100% nailed down that position. Does it then come down to what TJ's put here, of whether she can actually excel at right wing in the same way that she's done over on the left-hand side? She's pretty much the same job, just different feet, really, isn't it?
I think, again, it's all down to her. I mean, there's no reason why, if she doesn't absolutely smash it, she can't knock Galton out of her position, really. Like, I can't see it happening, because Galton is just getting better and better every single season. So the competition is ridiculously high. But it is kind of all down to her. So I'm hoping that, I would like to see her come back and compete and get a starting spot, or, be heavily featured, let's say. I mean, at the minute, Garcia and Paris seem to be kind of sharing that spot quite well. I would actually like to see Garcia play a little bit more there. So throwing Hanson into the mix as well will just fry my brain, because I just want them all to be there. And that's not possible.
But, not that I'm going to fry it anymore. Don't forget there's Fuso as well, potentially coming back as well.
Yeah. I mean, Skinner is going to have a job on his hands trying to,
isn't he,
basically pick the best play. We've got a number of very good players in that position. And you know, they all deserve to be playing and having a decent amount of game time. So unfortunately, I do think that means that tough decisions are going to have to be made, because all of those players I want to see playing, you know, and getting good minutes as well, not just making an appearance for the last 10, 15 of a game as impact sub, because they all deserve a starting spot in a team and they're all good enough to get one as well. It's just who can demonstrate their abilities at the right time and impress Skinner, basically.
Good points. Good points. Earlier on, nearly right at the beginning of the show, Sporty came up with a cracking question, but it didn't quite fit with where we were talking. So, Freya, this one's for you. So, who would be likely to come into the Villa team for Kirsty on Friday night? If she can't play, who should we be looking out for on the left wing? Who do you think that Carla would go for?
Oh, that's a really good question.
So?
Trying to think now. Who could come in? Just had a mind blank now. Depends where, because I know Alicia Lehman does flip between which wing she's going down, and she has come on as a sub last couple of times. So it'd be nice to see her. But we've got the youngsters like Laura Blinkilde-Brand, we've got Freya Gregory coming back from injury. So we do have some really good younger options as well. So it depends who we can push down into that left wing position. But unfortunately, she's not replaceable, is she? She's that fantastic. So yeah, let me have a think about that one actually, and I'll have a better answer for you.
No problem. So you have a little think of that, and whilst we're doing that, I'm just going to point this out, Tony. You said she's played on the left for Villa, so she competes with Leah. That's not how football works. It's a bit like saying May Letizier's only played right back, so she couldn't play centre back and compete with anyone else. And I think every Manchester United fan would say, well, hang on a second, she's done pretty well at centre back. So there is the chance you can change people's. Thierry Henry used to be a left-sided midfielder, and now look at him, he was right in the middle scoring goals and was the top goal scorer for Arsenal. So I think it's perfectly possible for players to play in other positions. We don't have to put them down into that. John has, but Hanson has had a very good season. For me, they're always stupid to not allow you to play against the team who's owned you out domestically. Weirdly, they're always different in European competitions. You say stupid, I say pretty clever, because the last thing you want is them coming in and scoring the goal against you, a la Dennis Law. I know he wasn't on loan, but still, it's quite annoying when they do that. And they do tend to come back and bite you on the bum. Joseph's put there, some players better playing in the smaller clubs, and that's what's happening with Kirsty. United, the intensity's more, so she doesn't think she's as good as Garcia or Paris, which is a interesting take to make there. TJ's put, can she excel under Skinner's systems or tactics? And I think there's quite a few good points there. And yeah, absolutely, it could pick up a long-term injury, so why not keep her? Of course, Garcia can go out on the left as well. So there we go. Is there a window to call back a player alone? I think it depends. I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs of transfers. What I will do is give you my football manager knowledge, which is that it depends whether you've inserted that clause in the contracts at the beginning. If you've said we can recall them at any point, then you can. If you've said, no, you're there for the end of the season, we can't call you back. So I think it depends on that. So I would imagine there's a possibility you can. It depends on what they've said at the beginning. Sarah, we're going to get to your question in a minute. Don't worry too much about that. But we need to continue with our preview. And we spoke a little bit about Hanson. Freya, tell us a little bit as well. And you might have thought of somebody who's coming in on the left side. So if you have, feel free to throw that in as well. But of course, another one of our old players, Lucy Staniforth, has been spending a little bit of time with you. So talk to us again a little bit about not just Lucy, but also some of the other substitutions, transfers that Carla's made and brought in. And how you feel they're settling into the team and how they make you a more potent force than perhaps you have been in previous years.
Yeah, I mean, something me and Lindsay discussed quite a lot in our blogs, and we actually predicted the move of Lucy Staniforth and Jordan Nobbs to Villa. So we're very proud of ourselves that we managed to predict that. So we knew the team, we've been plagued with injuries, as you probably well know. Just want to wrap Aisha Littlejohn in bubble wrap forever so she doesn't get injured again. So I think with Carla actually bringing in some bigger names, some more experienced names, if you look at our team now, we've got so many internationals who can bring that wealth of experience. And just by building up, she managed to spot, okay, we were quite weak in defence at one point. She built up that defence. We had some holes in midfield, right? She brought some midfielders in, like Jordan Nobbs, Lucy Staniforth. So to be able to bring those players in and to be able to do it, and they all seem really happy together as well. So to create that family environment where they're going to push each other and really challenge each other, because if they're coming back from international duty, they're on such a high with like, right, okay, let's bring that to club, let's bring that in, let's make sure everyone's at this standard. So I think she's been very clever with the people she's brought in, and we've seen in the results, especially with that last one against Chelsea, just losing 1-0 to Chelsea in such a tight game. I think we couldn't have done that last season. I don't think at the beginning of the season, maybe, with the team we've got. So it's just completely revolutionised how we play, and we can start to challenge and dominate as well. And Freya Gregory, that's who I want to start down the left.
Freya Gregory?
Yes.
Is that just because she's got the same name as you?
Well, it's a fantastic name, we might as well share it. But no, England Youth International, she's been fantastic for us as well.
There we go. Good stuff. Interesting you mentioned those games. If we look back at the last 6 games for both teams, you mentioned the Chelsea game. It's quite interesting because I thought with our performances so far this season, Jess, that we'd be all right. But actually, we have lost a game in our last 6 games. Obviously, that 1-0 game against Chelsea. But that seems so long ago, doesn't it? To say that's only 6 games ago feels almost like a lifetime ago.
Yeah, I guess that's the international break for you.
Exactly.
Things.
Exactly. But other than that, 5 wins out of 5. Thankfully, once this game's over, if we've won that will be 6 wins out of 6, and we can get rid of that horrible reminder of the fact we should have had 2 penalties and beaten Chelsea anyway. But just jump on the back of what Freya said there, because, again, their form has been really good. They've won 3, drawn 1, lost 2. And they've been pretty good results. Again, they could be in the FA Cup as well. There was the City loss, obviously, that happened there. But apart from that, the City win, they've done really well there. Chelsea was the 1-0 loss in the FA Cup. They did lose to Chelsea 3-0 also in the league. But a big draw, 3-0 against Spurs. That was a bit of an interesting one because they came from behind on that one. Otherwise it's not something you'd really brag about at the moment because Spurs not exactly setting the world alight at this minute. But to come back is always a hard thing to do and to show that sort of spirit. It's going to be a cracking match, isn't it? And that's probably the reason why we've sold out the away end specifically. I don't know how the rest of the Villa Stadium is going to be looking at, the Bescott, but it's got to be quite a good thing, isn't it? Whatever happens, it's definitely going to be worth watching.
Absolutely, yeah. I think this is going to be a really good game. I think it's going to be a tough game as well for United. We've already covered the players that Villa have brought in recently, and like Freya mentioned, they really are kind of like the best of the rest at the minute. And quite honestly, I can see them actually pushing for that kind of like top 4 in the next year or so. Assuming looking at the team and the kind of tactics and everything that is basically their aim. So it'd be good to see a new team try and break into that. I think the closer the WSL can be, obviously, the more interesting and the more fans it's going to bring in. But yeah, I know Villa kind of had a bad. It's not necessarily a bad run, more of an unlucky selection with having to face Chelsea twice in very quick succession. But they're going to be looking for a bit of revenge here as well, like, against United, and they're going to be wanting to turn the tide around. They're not going to want to have 3 losses and a draw in their last 4 games. They're going to be wanting to push for a win here, and with the players and the team they've got, they could do it. So, and they're going to know that. So they are going to come out and they're going to be hungry and they're going to be looking for a good win. So United have got to be careful. But I think it's going to be a very, very good game, a tight game. But yeah, it's going to be good.
Absolutely. There is amount of games the men's teams played last week. It was like ancient times. Yes, very true. Very, very true. And yes, Vincent, it has sold out the away end. So might well be some Man United fans sitting with the Villa fans on Saturday. So you never know. Stranger things have happened. Freya, I was going to ask you a little bit as well about, as I said, Rachel Daley. I said it backstage. I find it amazing. My knowledge of other football teams other than Manchester United women has only really been born out over the last year and a bit since I've been doing this. My focus really has been on what are Man United doing? Haven't really cared too much about getting into anything else. But before the Euros, started getting into it a bit more, starting to realise who some of the other players were. And for me, Rachel Daley was a left back. That's what she was, because that was where I'd seen her play for England. So I just assumed that was her position. So you can imagine my surprise. You can paint me surprised that we have a left back currently second top of the WSL scoring charts with 15 goals. Talk to me a bit about Rachel Daley, because we talk a lot on this channel about having a striker like Bunny Shaw, somebody who's going to go and get lots of goals for your team. And I say you're second to her. Alessia Russo's on 9 for comparison. She's our top goal scorer. If you add in Leah Goulton, that's 17. So it puts us level with Bunny Shaw in terms of having 2. But what does having that one striker mean to you? Because she's 10 goals ahead of Daley, I think it is. So how does that impact your play, having somebody there who you know is going to get you goals?
Yeah, I think it's, having her sign was kind of like the first big name through the door. So straight away it was kind of like, okay, we've got Rachel Daley back. And to know that she can perform and she can do it. Some of the goals she scored have been absolutely, out of this world. And you feel not too reliant, but you can rely on her to be able to perform. And you can tell when she doesn't score, she misses. She looks so frustrated and so angry with herself because she knows she can do it. And that's especially when the camera kind of pans to her and you're like, yeah, okay, we felt that frustration. And Carla Ward's always said, she's a striker, she's a forward, what's she doing in that position for England? But then again, she's always said she'll play where Serena wants her to play. Because if you look at the forwards for England, you've got Alessia Russo, you've got all of these bigger names. Is she going to get picked over them? Probably not. So to have her available at left back gives her that position in the team, and it's a position that we know she can play as well. So that versatility is brilliant, but could also put her at a disadvantage. But for us personally, knowing that we've got someone so reliable in front of goal is a big boost, because whenever her and Daley come together, we know there is a potential for some magic there. So it's always great to watch them.
Absolutely. Sporty's been on fire today, and he mentioned something else earlier that's made me trudge back through the comments to find it, which was this one. Daley's been fantastic for Villa. So has Daley as well. Daley and Daley sounds like a solicitor's or an optician's. I have to say, he's not wrong. Could be Daley and Daley. I don't know. Either way around, I think you could go on that one. But yeah, that did tickle me. That was quite good, Sporty. Well done. James of Flatbush just completely outed me here. Daley played striker when she was at Houston Dash. Listen, I was only just getting WSL. If you think I'm worried about the NWSL, that wasn't even on my radar. That's in America, where TJ is. And obviously he then comes out with, scored quite a bit for the Dash too, I think. Brilliant. Well done, American people, for knowing what's going on in America. Good job. And Daley hit the ground running in Villa's Open of our City. Hasn't looked back since. You are not wrong. She has been quite impressive. But alternatively, Jess, if you look at it from the United point of view, what a season we're having. We may not have that one goal scorer. We've already mentioned Russo on 9. We've got Goulton on 8. We're not doing too bad. Those would be our top 2 goal scorers, but we've got goals spread out all the way across our team at the moment. We've scored more goals this season than we've scored any other WSL season, more points. So, again, it's going to be a case of having potentially the second best striker in the WSL up against the best attack in the WSL, which is quite a thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I mean, we've mentioned before that goals on from the United team can come from anywhere. In some respects, having just one focal point striker, in theory, not always in practice, but it makes it easier to defend against. Whereas you find when you're watching United play, quite often teams will work hard to sort of mark Russo out of the game, but it doesn't really matter because she can drag players out of the way for someone like Goulton to score, or Garcia has done pretty well. Even, players like Zelen. We're dangerous from set pieces. Danger is kind of all over our front line. I can't remember how many different goal scorers we have, but I'm sure it's more than anyone else in the WSL. And when you look at it, you compare Russo, I think she's on 8 or 9 goals, to the kind of leading scorer, and think, oh, well, she's lagging behind a little bit. But the playing style is completely different. We're not totally reliant on just firing the ball to her for her to score. She sometimes drops in, switches with Toon, or she'll go out wide and allow Galton to cut in. So it's a really interesting way of kind of setting the team up. There's a lot more fluidity, I think, to the United team, and that allows goals to basically come from anywhere on the pitch at all. Letizia scored 2 in her opening game.
Yeah.
Turned up, scored 2, not scored since.
No, not scored. She needs to. She scored 2.
No.
Happy days. She's a defender after all.
Exactly.
And fair points for Chris here. I didn't throw that one out there, but we know it to be true. The best defence as well. Currently the best defence in the WSL, which people like Daley and Daley are going to have to get through. I popped this up just a second ago. TJ saying 36 goals in the NWSL from 2016 to 22. He then changed it to 37. But either way, that's only like 6 goals a year. So the fact that she's on 15 now either means the NWSL defence was superb, or she is just having the year of her life. If I did not know this woman, I would genuinely think Mark Skinner had just infiltrated the comments, because Sarah Sproston here, Freya, has put this. Where do you think you're at your weakest? I presume she means Villa. I hope she's not talking about you. It's not a job interview after all. Where do you think you're at your weakest, and where do you worry you might be exposed?
I think throughout the season we've had holes that we know we need to fill. So I think, like I said before, kind of our defence at one point, it wasn't great, but now we've strengthened that. So actually our defence has been one of the things that have kept that goal difference down over the past few games. We've had so many good chances against us, and we've managed to keep them out. So I think possibly, again, depending on how we set up, depending on who starts, the midfield's a lot stronger now, but we've had times where if people haven't been on the same page, maybe that's kind of our weakest bit. So I'd say, let's have a think. Probably, actually, the thing we've talked about the most is kind of where we are in that final third, that final ball, that actually being clinical on goal. And I think that's the thing that's going to let us down the most. So I think we're strong in our defence, we're much better in midfield, but it's just, can we get a goal in the back of the net? I think that's going to be it.
Excellent. Right, Connie, you can send the text to Mark now. 40 minutes in, that's when we got the tactical information that he needs for his team talk tomorrow. It's all good. Sarah's also got a question, which we'll throw to you here, Jess. Who worries you most from a Villa point of view? Looking at the team and the squad that they've got.
Definitely. Having said that, the ball's got to actually get to her. But I just think she doesn't need too many opportunities. So Rachel Daley and I'm assuming it's Jordan Nobbs is set to be playing. Definitely Jordan. They'll link up, I'd say. So kind of a two-parter there. Jordan Nobbs and Rachel Daley. I think you've got 2 very, very dangerous and quality players there, and they bring a lot to the team. Not just in terms of like footballing ability, but kind of experience, cool heads. So yeah, definitely those 2.
Okay, Titus has gone for the other one, Daley. And TJ has said that Villa currently 35 scored, 31 against. So bit of an interesting one there. The other question we were asked, Jess, it's rare that I get asked a question when I'm hosting, so I'm going to throw it out to you anyway, because anyone who watches this should know what my answer is going to be. Would you go with the same starting 11 for United as against Arsenal, or would you make changes?
Yeah, I'd probably stick with the same starting 11. I know there's maybe an argument to take Mannion out and put Turner back in, but I think potentially that decision would be more down to how the players are in terms of like if there's any niggles. Because I know when Turner did come on in the Arsenal match, she had some taping on her thigh, which I'm assuming is why Mannion started to begin with. And of course, she's only just returned from an ACL injury. So for that position, I know that there's been some questions in the comments of who should start out of them 2. I think that should be more down to who is more able to start in terms of injuries. We don't know too much about how they actually are in their recovery. Obviously, they're both back playing. But yeah, I'd like to just make sure that whoever is starting isn't going to pick up another injury that's going to put them out for the rest of the season. But otherwise, yeah, I think probably stick with the same starting 11. There's always the argument to start Garcia over Paris. I really like Garcia just from a personal point of view, I'd probably start Garcia just because I really like her, basically. But I think, again, you could start either and it wouldn't really make too much difference.
Mm-hmm. Seems fair to me. Again, my answer always keep the same team. If they're not hurt, keep the same team. It's what's got us where we are. We're going well. Don't change the team. Would be me. What was I looking for? I thought I had a question up here. Looks like I didn't. It's gone a bit wrong. So let's go down to this one. That was it. So she says Nobbs isn't integral for Villa as yet. Kenza Daley is. She's the main one. And Sarah, we've not conceded from a set piece this season. I feel Daley going to ruin that stat. If she does, we know who to blame for that one. Well done. Titus also saying Jade Riviere should come off the bench. We haven't seen her yet, so it'd be quite interesting to see if she gets involved. Now, here's a little question for you, Freya, because Connor is, how do I word this one? Obsessed makes him sound like he's a little bit odd. He's not, but whenever we talk about Aston Villa, this is the one he always talks about. So yeah, he's enamoured, shall we say, by Maz Pacheco. What's your thoughts on Maz Pacheco?
I've met Maz. She's really nice. She's great. Just her whole persona and how well she links up with the rest of the team as well. Like we've seen her score, we've seen her try to score. So she's even getting in the box and she's getting in amongst it. And I think because the whole team have now got this fire, like we were talking about earlier, they're going to want to fight and they're going to want to win. So the fact that Maz can link up with Daley and Daley and Hanson and Malin, there's so many options now that she just does shine when she's on the pitch, and she takes that off because she's got her own. She does football camps as well, encouraging young girls to get into football. So all around, we really like her. So yeah, if we can keep her as long as possible, that'd be great. And we think she needs an England call up at some point as well. A lot of potential.
Absolutely, because there was somebody who already said that in here. Yeah, it was James. Why don't Pacheco get called up for England? I don't know. Probably the same reason that Hannah Blundell doesn't, I would imagine, because people like Jess Carter get in instead. So it's hard. We have got a wealth of talent in this country, which we should be very, very pleased with. See, I was careful with my words, Chris. You less so. Fixated. He's not a stalker. He's not like that. He just likes her as a left back. A bit like me with Sam Kerr, who, by the way, is one goal behind Alessia Russo in the WSL stats. Just throwing that out there. Sporty, you spent far too much time around me. I think you need a break. Connor is mesmerised by Pacheco. Well done. Proud of you. Proud of you. Connor says, though, Freya, we need left back cover. Good option, in my opinion. Would you see Maz Pacheco coming in? And do you think, I just mentioned Hannah Blundell, she's having a really good season. Do you think Maz could take Hannah out of the team? Do you think she's good enough, better than Hannah Blundell?
I think there'd definitely be an interesting battle there. I think they're both, the way they both play, I think that'd be an interesting battle, actually. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But I think, I'm just thinking about it. I'm just going to wait and see how that plays out.
What do you think, Jess?
Yeah, again, I think she's got every kind of chance to do it. I think it would be, like Freya says, interesting battle. Blundell's had a very, very good season. A very good season this year. So it's difficult to kind of imagine her not playing there. But, competition is always good. It really is. Unfortunately, there's only 11 spots on the team. And that's what kind of keeps teams fresh and keeps players improving. It is competition. So, having a player like that to compete in your position is only going to make you better yourself. So, yeah, that's interesting.
It is an interesting one, isn't it? He does. He talks about her being a good point, a good signing, all the time for a talking point. And who knows? Maybe he's right. I just think Hannah Blundell, like Charlie said the other day, she knew that I'd say it. You don't change the Man United team. The Man United team is brilliant, and we love the team just as it is. There was, yes. So a really interesting take here by Titus, one that's don't sign anyone, just promote youth talent into the team. They're amazing on loan, and I agree here with what Ellie said. It's just the level up is so different. TJ said, well done to Grace Clinton, and absolutely, big up Grace Clinton, going up with Bristol City, going in to help them to do that was superb. But it is the levels. The levels are really important to recognise that going out as a youth player doesn't necessarily mean you can just waltz into the WSL and take it over. But then having said that, look at some of the precocious talent you see in the Premier League. Could be a chance. If we don't ever try it, we'll never, ever know. I wanted to ask you another question, Freya, maybe a bit of an off-the-ball sort of one, really. But Hannah Hampton obviously has been your goalkeeper for a while. And in the back of my mind, I was thinking about it before we got into the chat today. And I'm sure there was a little bit of a sort of a disagreement, or there seemed like there was a bit of a problem towards the end of last season, beginning of this season, with Hannah and Carla. I presume everything seems all right now. And how are you feeling with Hannah? Because we were talking just there about the goals, 35-31. Would you say that your defence is something you would be looking at trying to improve next season, or where do you stand on that particular part of your gameplay?
Yeah, I mean, with Hannah Hampton, we really like her. Her skill and her saves have saved us quite a lot. So we can see she definitely deserves her England call-up. She really does. And whatever went on, obviously we don't know the ins and outs of that, but whatever it was, she always seemed like she was trying to get back in. She was trying to prove herself. She was fighting to get back in. So we're really happy that she has been called back up because she's a phenomenal goalkeeper. So again, that'll be interesting. Mary Earps and Hannah Hampton both together, both showing off their skills on Friday. So she's such a fantastic part of the team. And we've mentioned before in our blogs as well, we feel safe with her. Same with Mary Earps. You know she's going to pull off the saves. And if they don't, for whatever reason, it's a one-off. It's not expect it to happen. Like, you do feel whenever they've got the ball or whenever they're in front of goal that they can save it. So safe pair of hands, which is obviously what you need for a good goalkeeper. So I think because we're getting much tighter at the back defensively, and we've got Hannah Hampton, that's really helped us this season, to be fair.
Excellent stuff. Good news. So another person that we wanted to talk about was Evie Rabjohn, because that's obviously been one of the hot topics around the Twitterverse at the moment. What do you know about Evie Rabjohn? What can you tell us about her, and how disappointed would you be to see her go if she comes to United?
Yeah, she's a fantastic young player. She's one of the young lionesses, and she's performed. She has proven she can perform on the big stage. She gets minutes with our first team as well. Maybe not as much as maybe she would have liked or we would have liked, but again, it's about that rotation. It's about injuries. It's about who can we bring in and who's best to be brought in. But she has so much potential, and we are really good to lose her, especially on free. Being that big talking point. I know Carla Ward has talked about that as well, because we've got so many great youth players coming up, like we talked about Freya Gregory and Laura Binkilder-Brown. So to lose them when we've put a lot of emotion and effort and money into it, it's just a shame that we won't get her back. And again, it's she's gone to United, which a fantastic club. Is she going to get the minutes? Is she going to play? Is she just going to be on the bench? So it would be a shame if she doesn't get that opportunity, but maybe does she then go back out on loan again when she's there? We just don't know. So we just want the best for her, because she's a really good potential talent. So as long as she's playing, we'll be happy to see her play.
Very good. Jess, your thoughts on Evie Rabjohn? Do you think, Ellie's already said it, and Freya has said it as well, if she comes through, she might go out on loan. Is that pretty much what you would see happening, a bit like Grace Clinton?
I was going to say, I imagine it'd be very, very similar to Grace Clinton, potentially down to a WSL 2 club. I can see her going straight back out on loan. Because like you say, you don't want to get a player like that in. She's not going to get into our first team. We already have a full bench, and we've covered the squad rotation thing. So realistically, she's not going to get into our first team, but she needs minutes. She's young. She deserves minutes. That's the only way she's going to improve. She's at a kind of crucial part in her kind of development in her career where she needs to be playing regularly, but in an environment that's going to kind of nurture her as well. So I think a loan spell, and we've seen how well a loan spell has worked for Grace Clinton. I mean, that you couldn't really write it how well that's gone. So hopefully I'd like to see a similar thing kind of happen. And yet you're just going to want to see her have a long and successful career because the potential there is huge. So you just want to hope that United are going to kind of go ahead and nurture that, whether it's a couple of loan spells before she kind of has a chance of actually breaking into the first team. Maybe some minutes in some pre-season friendlies to get experience in the kind of United first team. It'll be interesting to see kind of how they play it, but hopefully United have got a good kind of plan in place for how they're going to bring youth players through, and that goes back to bringing academy players up. We mentioned the comments before, we do have some very good academy players. So there is going to have to be a clear pathway in place for how we're going to bring teenagers basically into our first team, and how that is going to progress moving forward throughout the next few years.
Excellent points. Well done. So I said well done there as if you were a child at school that I've been working with there. Probably because I was trying to find the comment that I was looking for. But yes, very good points. What was the one I was looking for?
Very much. I'll have a little sticker for that, please, when you've well done.
Well done. Good girl. Pat on the head. It's Ellie. That was the one I wanted to talk to. It was this one. There we go. It has been mentioned. We've already spoken about Lucy standing fourth. Rewind it a bit. Go and have a little look. Freya's told us all about that and how good she's doing. And then this was the next one. There we go. Zellum is close to the yellow card limit for a ban. She's on 4. There was a mistake with regards to whether she'd had a 5th. That wasn't the case. But one more, and absolutely she would be up for a ban. So got to be careful, very, very careful. And yes, I think it is possible. It's the next game. I don't think it has to be the same competition when it comes to domestic. So you absolutely could, I think, miss the FA Cup final, but I could be wrong, in which case if I am, somebody could say it. Connor has lied to me. He's gone back to the old account, but he's done that because obviously there's a rather important announcement, and here it is, and it's a good one as well, because our match reaction show for this game against Villa will be on Saturday night. We figured waiting a whole weekend before you could come and talk about the result would be a little bit naff. So you'll get the usual crew in at, he's put 7 o'clock. I thought it was 7:30. I don't know what's happened here. Are you sure it's 7 o'clock? Do you want to check the group chat again there, Connor, just to be sure, because I'm sure you said 7:30, but no, I'm not sure anymore. You did say 6:30 or 7:30. Sort it out, Connor. Help me out. I'm not sure, and I can't check my phone right now. But either way, he said 7, so for the moment we'll go with that. But there we go. I'll tell you something. I'm good. I'll tell you, 7:30. There we go. So beer at 7:30, not 7. You can get it at 7 if you want. It'll be a very long wait. Freya, one of the last questions that we've got for you. What does success look like for Aston Villa? And I don't say this to be, I'm not trying to take the mickey, but when you're a mid-table side and you're not necessarily pushing into the top 4, you're not threatened by relegation, there's the potential for a complacency, I suppose, to pop in of it's just how your season goes. We're not really fighting for anything. We just want to do well. So what would success begin to look like for a team that hasn't quite made it into the top 4 but might be pushing for it? Where would you say this is a great season, we've done really well?
I think we can say that already, to be fair. We're so proud of how the team have performed. And I think, like I said earlier, Carla Ward wanted top 6. We're now top 5. So to keep that at the minimum would be phenomenal. We know at the minute, maybe we can challenge the top 4 teams, but maybe we're not quite ready to be there yet. But we know that, but we want to be there. So I think having that drive, and as long as we keep progressing and as long as we keep improving, I think the whole, every single villain will be happy with that. So, like we said earlier, we finished 9th last season. So we've already outdone ourselves by a couple of places. So as long as we keep fighting and keep getting better, I think, we should be really proud of where we are.
Absolutely, Tice. But success for Aston Villa will be to get the attention of the whole club and invest immensely and do better next season than they have done this season, maybe. And let's be honest, progress is all that really matters. Whether you are, like us, a team that finished 4th and is looking to try and get into 3rd, Villa are now just getting to that point and hoping they can take out either Arsenal or City. Probably not Chelsea. They're just a little bit too good at the moment. Sarah, lovely little point here. In a tactical view, do we want Zellum to get the ban before City in the final and have the Spurs game banned? Do a McCabe, at which point it has spawned a chant of epic proportions here. Let's all do a McCabe, la 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 la. So there we go. Who knows? Do we have any other players who are near the yellow card limit? And Connor, God bless him, has done some Googling and said Mayer is close. Well, that would be an interesting one. Having to bring Toon-Car in. Jess, I had a question for you as well with regards to success, because I said to you earlier, for us, we were measuring success as top 3. That's what we wanted this season. That's what we felt would be successful. We made the FA Cup final as well. Do you think the expectations or what we would say would be a successful season has changed slightly or shifted with the fact we've done as well as we've done? Because outside of the fan base, the only person who felt we were going to win the title was me. So everybody else was all like top 3. Do you think that now we're in a different position where actually if we didn't finish second, it won't feel as successful if we just get third now? Or am I splitting hairs and really qualification?
I think it depends how you want to look at it. I think for me personally, I will see it from the sense that finishing top 3, that was the initial aim. So therefore, if we finish top 3, it is a success because we have completed that aim. I think there will still be a little part of me that's disappointed because we were in the top spot for so long. But I think when you put it in context and when you look at the bigger picture, you have to just think about what your aim was at the start of the season. Anything in life, if you have a target for something, you write it down. And if you hit that target, you've hit that target. Just because you maybe for a little while were shooting even higher, that doesn't mean that just coming in slightly below but still hitting that target is not a success.
Yeah.
And I think we've got to be careful with how we kind of react to the fact that, Chelsea are insane and we've not beaten them. Therefore, realistically, Chelsea are better than us and therefore will most likely get first and probably deserve to get first as well. So I think we do need to be realistic and not put too much pressure on the team, the players, the manager, because what's been done so far has been incredible. And what I don't want to see is at the end of the season, us finishing second or third and fans turning around and like, oh, well, we were first for ages. That's rubbish. Skinner out. We should have finished first, because it's not the case. You write down at the start of the season what your aims are and you either hit them or you don't. If our aims were finishing top 3 and FA Cup final, we've hit them. And we're doing really, really well. So for me, yeah, as long as we get top 3 in Champions League, it'll absolutely be a success. And I'll also say that our improvement in performances as well from last season to this season, I think that's something that we need to look at as well and consider as a success, because it really has. I know we've got a few games left, but if we carry on the current trajectory, if I can get my words out, it really has been a very good season and I'd like to see us finishing strong. So yeah, for me, top 3, success, absolutely.
Excellent. So I would tend to agree. If we don't finish first, I will be writing a strongly worded letter to Mark Skinner for making me look like an idiot when I had lots of faith in him. But I certainly won't be calling for him to go out at all because we love the guy. I say we. I love the guy. I can't speak for everybody else. Right, I had one more question for you, which was your last one. Jess, I'm sorry I didn't warn you of this, so you've got the harder job, I think. Whereas for Freya, this is like championship manager all over again. Connor likes to do this thing where you choose one player from the opposition team who would start, and you've got to put them in a starting position. Now, if you think this through, Jess, the answer is quite easy. All right, it's very, very simple, but it depends on if you're on my wavelength. Freya, I'm going to throw it out to you because you've had the time to think about it, and I'm not that evil to Jess. Which of the wealth of Manchester United stars are you going to choose to start? They must start.
You can have 2.
You can tell me who the 2 are, and then pick which one you're going to plump for in the end.
Okay, so the 2, Honor Badger and Martha Thomas. But I think
interesting. Martha Thomas. You're going to have to tell me more about this because I did not. That's from left field. Didn't expect that. Tell me more about that.
I just really like the way she plays, and I think within Villa, I think she would fit in quite nicely in kind of our style. Just from what I've seen, please feel free to disagree with me. But I think she'd be think she'd be interesting. I think she'd be really good. But no, I think I might have to go with Honor to start. Yeah.
Interesting. You see, I say that not because I don't think Martha Thomas is a good player, just more because you expect people to come out with, you might have Tooney, you're going to take Russo, you're going to take Batche, you're going to take all of the big names that you might say. But yeah, Martha Thomas, absolutely. What a shout that is. But plumps for Honor Batche, I think you might have a few people going for that signature. So you might have to work hard to get that one, but you never know. Jess, where have you gone with it?
I don't know, to be honest. I'm kind of torn. I don't know whether to go for Daley or Daley, actually. It's difficult.
15 games with a 5.
The reality is I don't really want to change anyone in the United team. Because if I start Daley, I've obviously got to bench Russo, unless we change the formation. And I don't think I really want to do that.
Goals more.
She has scored more goals, but it goes back to Russo fits in with the fluidity in the way United play. So that's why I'm leaning towards maybe Daley, but then who'd you take out?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not like we've got midfield players that are already asking to play.
Exactly. So can I opt out of answering this question? Can I put people on the bench? Can I choose Daley as a super sub?
Oh, no, they've got to start. It's Connor's rules.
In that case, I think we're going to have to pick Daley, and Russo is going to have to be the super sub.
Okay. Daley, of course, Pacheco for Connor over there. Revlon's put Daley, and Ellie said Daley. Sporty was surprised you didn't go for that. Interesting here, Daley for Thomas all day long. But the correct answer, and the one that I can't believe that anyone didn't mention, was got Kirsty Hanson. Just take Kirsty Hanson back. Right wing position. Jobs are good, and that's what I would have gone for anyway. I think I have asked all the questions that I was wanting to ask, and that was done, which leaves just one. The obvious question. It's a preview after all. What's the score going to be? When we get to Friday and the final whistle blows, who's going to be winning? What's the score going to be? We'll let Freya have the last word. So, Jess, what do you think the score is going to be?
2-1 United.
2-1. Any idea on scorers?
Yes, it's going to be Galton and Zellum.
Galton and Zellum.
Yeah, it just came to me. Someone spoke in my ear, and that is what's going to happen.
Excellent. And Freya, what's your thoughts?
I was going to say 2-1 Villa, but make it a bit interesting. I'll go 1-1. I think it's going to be tight.
It's going to be a draw. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Ellie's gone for 3-1. Williams, Galton, and Ella. So that'd be nice. TJ's gone 2-1 United. Revlon 3-2 United. And Erlin has gone for 2-1 United with Leah and Rachel. So, yeah, Titus thinking Daley's going to put one against Dirts, but Russo and Toon will win it. So, 2-1 United. Whatever happens, it's going to be interesting. I haven't put my predictions in yet. If you haven't done your predictions, send them in. We need those. I don't know. Like the last game was 5-0. We battered them, but we had that 1-1 when we were at Villa Park. There's that added pressure because it's getting close to the end. I think I'm going to go 3-1. I think it'll be tight for a bit, but then when we get the second, we might just go and nip the third as well. So that's what I think we're going to go for. Yeah, 3-1. Absolutely, Ellie. I've said it since day dot. I'm sticking with it until Chelsea make it mathematically impossible. I'm not changing. And TJ, so you mentioned it now, so I'm going to have to ask, especially seeing as how this has been mentioned. Bit of a weird question, nothing to do with football, but Freya, burgers. Like a burger?
I do like a burger, yeah.
Excellent. You know when you eat a burger?
Yeah.
How would you do that?
With my hands.
There you go. And that's the answer, Connor. It's always the answer. I don't know why we have to play this game as if there are that many people in the world. Because Connor, lovely bloke, like adore the guy, genuinely, is an absolute legend. But he's also unbelievably thick because He eats his burgers with knife and fork. He cuts them up. He doesn't like cut them up so that he can eat them with his hands and make it a bit smaller. He takes it apart. It's like somebody spent time making a burger and he just takes it apart and cuts it up into little bits. Do you remember the old big breakfast at McDonald's where they basically had a McMuffin and they just emptied it out on the plate? That's what he's done. It's unreal. Absolutely outrageous. And the only two people that support that is this young lady here, Sarah Sproston, and of course, Wolf United WFC, which is Connor. So there we go. Sad news. But well done, Freya. You're welcome back anytime for eating burgers the correct way. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed it. The last hour and 10 minutes have flown by. Thank you so much. Jess, cheers for joining us. I know you told everyone you as well, but I know you've not been feeling too great. So thank you for hanging about and coming along as ever. Freya, we hope you enjoyed it. Tell us a little bit more about your website, the whole 115 yards, where people can find you, what it is you do, and yeah, that sort of stuff. Let us know. Shout it out.
Yeah, thank you. Well, first, thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed it. It's the first time we've really done anything like this. So the whole 115 yards, me and Lindsay met at uni many moons ago, and bonded kind of over our love of football in general, but then more recently women's football. So we started having chats and thinking, you know, maybe other people are doing the same thing. Why don't we put it out into the universe? So that's where the whole 115 yards was born. You can find us on all of your friendly social media websites. So we've got TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. We try to get as many matches as possible, not just in the WSL, but Champions League across Europe as well. So please give us a like and a follow. We're very new. So yeah, as many friends and subscribers that we can get is brilliant. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Sounds excellent. And how did you get the name, the whole 115 yards? What made you go for that?
Well, we were putting some things about, I really wanted golden girls, as in like golden. Lindsay wasn't having it. No. She was like, no, that's rubbish.
I know the feeling. Connor does this to me all the time.
And we knew of the phrase, the whole 9 yards. And then we thought, okay, well, what's the length of a football pitch, which is the whole 115 yards? So that's where that came from. So yeah, 115 yards, football pitch.
I'm very proud of myself because that's exactly what I thought it was going to be. So I'm going to reward myself with a biscuit with my cup of tea in a minute because that's stuff. Sporty is, if nothing else, like he says on the tin. Good luck to Villa for the remainder of the season. I'm sure you understand, just not on Friday. And I think everyone here at Wolf United would absolutely agree with that. We absolutely hope you get humped on Friday, but have a wonderful rest of the season. Absolutely. Freya, it's been a pleasure to have you on. Cheers again, Jess. Thank you, everybody in the comments. You've all been absolutely banging. Saturday, 7:30. I'll make sure Connor puts the tweet out right. But yeah, really good. Thanks, everyone. Take care and good night.